Howdy, Beeflipbar here, and welcome. I want us to jump right in. We've created our first copy of making our own version of My Simple Multiplayer so that we have something we can show off to our friends. And to get started with, if you're going to follow with this tutorial, then hopefully you have a good base understanding of how to use your computer and how to do most things. If you're new to computers, you don't know how to do most basic things of moving files around and so forth, then maybe these tutorials aren't for you. But if you have a good basic comprehension of what's going on, you should be able to follow along pretty well. Alright, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time saying everything, but I want you to follow along and kind of do as I do, and I'll try to explain what I'm doing. And what we've got is our base Unreal 4 engine character, which is white. And I already made another version of this. And yeah, I had some technical difficulties, so I'm having to re-record this video. So ignore what I've got going on here. So what I want you to do is, with all your folders listed right here, I want you to come to the characters folder. I want you to left click to open it up and open up the player so that we can see all these folders here. We have a red man folder. That's cool. We want to create a new folder inside the character folder. So with character selected, you'll see where we have player, red man, and we want to right click and create a new folder. And we're going to call this blue man. Okay? We're going to double click on it or just hit enter and open up that folder so that we see we have nothing in here. Now I'm going to left click and open up the red man folder. I'm going to left click on redman underscore sk. I'm going to hold the shift key down and then click on base body. And then I'm going to left click on, so I have all three of these selected. I'm going to left click and drag it over to the blue man folder, and I'm going to select copy here. Now I can go in here, and it's going to compile shaders, don't worry about that. And I'm going to left click on red underscore man underscore sk. I'm going to hit the F2 key, and then hit the right key, and then left key to scroll over to where it says red. Get rid of red, and I'm going to say blue. And then I'm going to hit enter, and now we have blue underscore man underscore sk. The SK at the end is what I use and a lot of people use to symbolize that it's a skeletal mesh. Typically, what I would normally do is, for these two being materials, I would normally add an underscore capital M so that I know that it's a material, but we're not going to worry about it just yet. So what I want to do is left click on base body, and again hit F2, right arrow, and then left arrow back over here to where I can delete and rename this to blue body. Same thing with the base underscore logo. I'm going to hit F2, right arrow, left arrow, and then we're going to call this blue logo. They're not blue, they're red. Alright, whatever. So I want to go into blue underscore body. You can either manually select it, hit enter, or you can double click on it and open it up. You're going to see a lot of spaghetti. Don't worry about it. With the right mouse button, right click on the screen and drag over, and just keep doing that to where you can come over and find this node, which is called body color. Left click on the body color, come over here in your details panel, left click on where it says default value on the red bar here. You're going to get your color picker to come up. If you don't have blue right here, that's no problem. Just select your color that you want. You'll see that it'll pop up right here, and then left click, drag, and let go right there, and now you'll create a new one for that blue color. I'm going to select OK at this point, and then I'm going to hit save. Now it's going to go through and apply this to the world, and make it so whenever you see these windows finish up and close down, doesn't take very long to do. There we go. It's saving all the assets and applying them all at the same time. You don't have to hit apply then save. Just hitting save is going to do all of it for you. So once it finishes doing its thing, then we no longer need this window to we're done with it. So we can hit the X arrow right here and close that tab. Now we want to go into our blue logo. In the details panel right over here, left click on this red stripe, and then click on our blue up here, click OK, click Save, and we want to go ahead and close that tab down. We're done with that. Now we want to go into our skeletal mesh. He's nice and red. So now we can click right here on our material slot for base underscore body. We're going to select blue body, and then element 1, we're going to select blue logo. Now we have a blue guy. We can hit save, close that, bang, we're done. So now we have a red guy, we have a blue guy, and we have our original white guy. So to make our first cool thing, we're going to make a color randomizer. So whenever we go into the game, it'll randomly pick. Now, if you haven't already, you can left click on this arrow for change play mode and select selected viewport. And see, I've got mine set to run on the white character right now. If yours is still set on a red character, it's not really going to matter. We're going to fix that. But we have red, white, and blue characters we can choose from because we're being awesome and patriotic, right? So we want to come into our player, inside character, player, blueprints folders. We want to double click and open up player base. We're going to use our mouse wheel to scroll in and out. We want to ignore all this stuff right now. Right click, drag over, find an empty spot down below here, and scroll in. And we're going to make our very first custom event. And we're going to make our very first, and sorry, I already had these set up here. I'm going to get rid of the variables that I already had. We're going to create a couple variables, and we're going to create a custom event. So the first thing I want to do is I want to right click anywhere in the empty area, and I want to create a custom, you start typing it in, custom event. Now, I know that whenever I'm adding a custom event, whenever I type in the word custom, it automatically has add custom event highlighted. So just by typing in custom and hit enter, bang, it's right there. I want to call my custom event is going to be, it's already highlighted for me to just type in a name, so I'm going to call it color picker. Alright, so we want to start creating a method of picking that color. We're going to create our very first variable. So on this line right here where it says variable, I want to left click on the variable button right here, and we're going to type in color number, all one word, and hit enter. Now it's going to create it and show it up here in the upper right hand corner. This is our variable name. Our variable type is a Boolean, which we want to change that. Boolean typically means it's a yes or a no. But we want to left click here and we want to change this over to an integer. An integer is a whole number, whereas a float can be fractions, name, a string, a text, a vector, which is going to be XYZ locations, rotation as well, the rotation, and transform is a mixture of those two. But we just want an integer. We want to click on instance editable, expose on spawn. We want to click on replicated and select replicated, and then in category we want to left click inside there and we want to type in a name for our category, and I'm going to call this character settings. Doesn't matter what you call it. But now I want to hit compile and save. Whenever I hit compile, it's going to add a default value, which is 0. we don't care what the default value is. We're not going to use the default value. So what we want to do is we want to randomly generate a number. So I'm going to right click again, and I'm going to type in random. Well, we know that we're working with an integer, so integer. I didn't even put any spaces in. I just started typing. So we want a random integer in range. Now, I'm going to left click on it, and I'm going to drag it over here just to get it out of the way. I'm going to left click on my custom event, and you always want to try to be as neat and organized as possible so that whenever you do have a problem, you can come back and troubleshoot it. So what we want to do is we want to pick a random number between, for the minimum is going to be 1. The maximum is going to be 3. So now it's going to pick that. Sorry. So we want to, now this is going to be our random generator. It's going to pick a number between 1 and 3. Now what I want to do is I want to hold down the alternate key and then left click on color number and drag over to right in here and let go of both. Okay. Now I want to connect the executable pins. That's these weird shaped ones right here. And then I can left click on it and drag it around. You can see the line's going to stay attached, but get in the habit of trying to keep everything neat and lined up. So now I'm going to left click on return value little piece right here, and I'm going to connect the dots. So now what we're doing is we're telling it to set the color number to a random number between 1 and 3. Okay. Now we want to create our first branch node. What a branch node is, it's asking a question, yes or no. And you can see there's one right there. But what I want to do is, in approximately the location where I want to put it, I'm going to hit the B key on my keyboard, and I'm going to left click. And it will automatically create a branch node for us. And I want to connect the executable pins together and line it up. So it's going to ask a yes or no question. And we'll get it in the final position here shortly. So the condition. We want to find out what the condition is. And you see it has a red no, which is a Boolean. How do we make this talk to this? Well, what we want to do is just drag this over here for now. And down here, we want to hold down the control key, left click, and drag and drop our color number. And we want to, from this little circle node right here, we want to left click and drag off from there and then let go so we get this box to come up. We're going to hit equal on the keyboard and the equal sign, and we want to select equal integer. Now, what we're asking of this question, the branch, is the color's number going to be equal to, and we're going to say 1. If it is 1, and we want to connect this Boolean to this Boolean, and let's go ahead and line it up. If the color number is equal to 1, then what we want to do is, the skeletal mesh of our character is what we see. We see the skeletal mesh. This is the white character, and this is the skeletal mesh right over here. If we were to change over to the blue man or the red man, all we're doing is we're changing the skeletal mesh of our character. So what we're wanting to do is change this with a series of code. You can see I just went to the viewport here, and we're going to go back to the event graph. So what we're wanting to do is we're wanting you to set the skeletal mesh. So that's what we want to do. I'm going to right click over here, and I'm going to start typing in skeletal mesh. And we can see right here where it says skinned mesh and then set skeletal mesh. And what it did is, see, both of them are highlighted in yellow, so we can move it around and see what it has done is it has grabbed a reference to our skeletal mesh from over here. And I'm going to go ahead and, well, we'll leave it right there for now. So when we ask if is the color's number equal to 1, if it is yes, then we're going to connect from true over to here on the executable pins. If it is true, then what we want to change the skeletal mesh to is we're going to click right here where it says new mesh. We're going to select SK underscore mannequin. We're going to go from the bottom to the top. You can go from the top to the bottom, doesn't matter. But I know this is the white one. So if that number is equal to 1, we're going to use the white character. Well, what if it's not 1? What if it's 2? Or what if it's 3? Good question. So let's left click and drag and select all of these. And we want to hold down the control key and left click on this so we can add that to what we have selected. We're going to control C. We're going to move down a little bit, and then with your mouse cursor in an empty spot, control V. And now I can kind of drag this around a little bit. We want to just kind of position it right here and then click off of it. So if it is not 1, so false, we're going to come down to this branch, connect the false to here. We're going to change this number to 2. And then we're going to change this skeletal mesh here to red. And again, empty space, control V, and drag it back over here so we can try to neaten it up a little bit. And we can make it a lot neater if we wanted to. In fact, to help, let's finish it off first. If it is 3, then we want to change to the blue man. And we're going to go back over and we're going to confirm everything. So I'm going to move this down to here. Okay. This down to here. This down to here. You'll appreciate the fact that you're trying to be neat and clean later on when you start getting mistakes and errors and problems and so forth. It'll make it a lot easier for you to come back and find your errors if you can just follow the lines from color picker. It's going to go in sequence along here. And to explain everything one more time, just so we know what's what, and then we'll make this happen. We'll make this so. Alright, whenever the color picker custom event is called, we're going to generate a random number between 1 and 3. Then we're going to ask a question. Is that number going to be equal to 1? If so, we're going to change our skeletal mesh to white. If it is not, well, then is that color number, the number going to be 2? Yes? Okay, we're going to use red. Well, if it's not, then we're going to come down here. Well, is the number 3? It is. Okay, we're going to use blue. But what if it's not? Well, it's going to be. Because we told it to only use between the numbers of 1 and 3. It can only be 1, 2, and 3. So now scroll out just a little bit, left click, and drag a box over the top of everything. Hit the C key on the keyboard, and we're going to call this our color picker custom event. Now we can scroll out and look, well, I don't want it right here. I can just mouse over it and I can drag that whole box and just park it somewhere else. Awesome. Now we're going to create the method for it to see it. So I'm going to scroll in and I'm going to right click over here, and we want to do another event, but it's event begin play. So what that's saying is whenever we begin to play the game, we're going to do this event. So I'm going to drag off from the executable and let go. And I'm going to say color picker. So now when we first start the game, we want to run our custom event called color picker. Again, I'm going to hit compile and save. And if you're not docked up there, just left click and drag it to the top of the screen next to where it says lobby map. But we're done in here for now. So what we want to do is make sure that we're in the, again, the standalone. And once you've already run it one time in standalone, in the selected viewport, then all you have to do is hit play. Now, we're in here and we're the red guy. I'm going to hit escape key to cancel the playing of the game. I'm going to go ahead and play it again. It's red. Play. It's white. Hit play. It's white. It's all random. It's going to randomly pick between those three. There we go. So you can see I'm just hitting escape and play. And each time you log in to play, and each time a character logs in to play, they're going to randomly get selected either red, white, or blue character. And that is our first function that we did in our game. Yeah, if you haven't figured out how to move around, you hold down the right mouse key to pan around and use WASD to be able to pan around while holding the right mouse button. Once you get more proficient with setting up and changing settings, then yeah, you can change that however you want to, but that's what I'm going to do. So that's our first video. That's our first lesson, and it's more of an advanced lesson in a way. What we have created is a random color picking. Now, you can apply this later on, and what if you want it to be a different character model? Awesome. You can do the same thing because you're changing the skeletal mesh. The skeletal mesh itself is what dictates how your player is going to look. So you can actually have it change to a different character completely. We'll explain that as we go along later, but for right now we only have the one character. So hopefully you should feel confident and say, hey, I just created something that now not only can I go in here and run around and do absolutely nothing and play by myself, but now my friends can join me in doing absolutely nothing but running around in circles and jumping. It's awesome. I feel special, and you will. I promise it doesn't seem like a very big milestone, but you know what? If you followed along and everything is working correctly, you're going to feel good about yourself. You've just created something that you can play. It's your very first game that's multiplayer, and you can play with your friends. Alright, next video we'll take it up to the next level, and hopefully you'll learn a little something on here. And I didn't want to go loudly. I wanted you to get in here and start doing stuff. Something you can see and actually physically do. Just because, hey, I want to do a shooter, I want to do a this, slow down, Hot Rod. You'll get there. Baby steps. Learn the basics, and like I said, follow along with the Virtus tutorials. They're a great series, and they'll get you in the right direction there. You watch my series on this, and you'll actually be able to start off with a multiplayer. And if you haven't purchased my, and not one of my Patreons, you have not purchased the simple multiplayer setup, I'm selling it for $10. I mean, come on, it's $10. It's going to get you started. And just to show an example, I'm going to go back to my main menu map. And yes, I want to save selected, even though I didn't do anything to the map. What you end up with is, when you first go into it, you're going to end up with a menu system to where you can host and join a multiplayer game using the Steam architecture. We can show how to change the menu as well later on, but I already have videos up on doing that. You can create a game, you can host, you can find, or you can just go straight into single player. And when you start creating your own maps and stuff, yeah, I'll show you how to change those as well. Actually, I'll do that in the next video. But for $10 to get you started with a multiplayer project that you can actually jump right in and play with your friends right from the get-go, it's well worth $10. Alright, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.